Donald Trump. The Illinois congressman joins us now. He's also a pilot in the Air National Guard. I'm wondering if your military background had maybe one reason why you've been separated by other members of the Republican caucus that haven't stepped out already and stated the obvious, that this man is no longer fit to be president of the United States. Actually, he never was, but now it's painfully obvious, even to the Wall Street Journal editorial page.
Yeah, I don't know what led to it. Good morning, guys. I think when I got into office, I made a commitment to myself that, look, I'm not gonna be somebody that just wants to do it for the attention or the fame. I really want to be focused and grounded. So every 2 years, I kind of remind myself of why I'm here. And I think it's just understanding that commitment to the Constitution. And then, I mean, honestly, as I'm sitting in my office, by the way, I've been for weeks predicting violence on the 6th. To have intel agencies and stuff saying that they never saw this coming. Wow. All I've been doing is looking at Twitter, seeing the post there, seeing the bring your guns, seeing the 1776 calls. I knew this was going to happen. And to see it then happen, to see people, we lost a Capitol police officer this morning. I think that's the 5th person or something to die from this riot. And my goodness, that's where we're at because people did not want to tell voters the truth.
And how are your voters responding? And I'm going to ask it in a sort of a leading question sort of way, because for the past 40 years, I've been wondering why more Republicans haven't been like you. What I always found is if I did something unpopular with voters out of conscience, I would hold town hall meetings and I would explain why. And my constituents always understood it and they respected me for it. How are your constituents responding to you?
Yeah, so I also have kind of an independent streak, and I think what I've noticed, I outperformed the president by something like 15% this election cycle, and it's because people, even if they don't agree with everything, I think they still have respect for you telling them the truth. But this is like a massive litmus test in people's minds, because it's almost like he's some cult leader that if you ever turn against, it's like leaving a cult in some people's minds, because it has driven people to go to the Capitol and to try to overthrow the Capitol. I think I saw that 45% of Republicans think that the occupation of the Capitol was a good thing. My God, we've got to have a real moment of talking and kind of going back to what conservative values mean and what we as Americans actually stand for. And if we're too scared to do it, and if we're going to convince people that we can magically pick the president in Congress, we don't deserve to be in office.
Hey, Congressman, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you this morning. Your case is very interesting to me, because what we've heard over the last 4 years from Republicans as they stand by in silence or in support of President Trump through some of these darkest days is that they don't want to cross the president, that they're afraid of his voters. If they cross him, they will lose their own election in a couple of years. What you've shown is that you're not a constant critic of President Trump, but when there is a moment you view something worthy of your criticism, you give it. And yet you still, in a district that President Trump wins and that Republicans generally win in presidential elections, you outpace the president. You do better. So what is your lesson? What would you say to incoming Republicans? What would you say to Republicans who've stood by President Trump about how you do that, how you conduct yourself?
I think the key is just, be genuine and authentic and do what you believe. I think if you're out there towing a line that you don't believe in, people can see that, and you just sound like every other, Democrat or Republican cookie cutter politician. That's one thing I think. I also just think that, the ability to communicate with folks without getting into technical jargon and just going back to the basics of what is it, in my case, that as a conservative I believe in. But I'll tell you, I do believe that this moment right here is going to define many people's careers, because there is no way that anybody logically believes that over time, Donald Trump will get even more popular than he is today. There's nobody that once we get out of the haze of the emotion here is going to look back and say, actually, we were so angry about the occupation of the Capitol, but that was fine.
So let's talk about the 25th Amendment. You made news when you came out in support of it yesterday. You said the president's got to step aside. Do you believe you can actually get that process started? We know that Vice President Pence is not on board with it. And as a follow-up, why do you believe the president needs to be removed? Why is this an urgent question with only 12 days left?
Well, I was a little more optimistic that the 25th could be done because, when George W. Bush, for instance, went under anesthesia for 2 hours, something like that, Dick Cheney was president. He was handed the duties under that for 2 hours because that was an administration that understood that even 2 hours with a rudderless ship could be potentially damaging. And we're talking 12 more days. But I think the damage that is being done, you have a president, again, that stood out, not just at that rally. He has been tweeting about, in essence, attacking the Capitol. He's been entertaining these QAnon conspiracy theories. Most of the people out there that actually charge the Capitol believe this was the storm, I'm sure. And then at the end of the day, he tweeted, "This is what you get. This is what you get for stealing an election." And it's totally false. And then when that's all over, we went back to Congress, and I stood there with my jaw dropped because people still objected to the election. And we had members of Congress that continued to say things like, "I have on good authority that was actually a false flag operation by Antifa." All right.
Congressman, there is no way that this president is going to act in a responsible way over the next 12 days. I think we can all agree on that. I think we all can agree that he says one thing in one moment and another in another. And that tape that he did yesterday was a moment in time. And that mostly he's trying to stoke hatred and division on top of the fact that he has access to classified information and could hurt our country from within and from without. He has proven that on every level. On what planet is someone not doing the 25th Amendment at this point? What's your argument to them to help them understand that perhaps we might want to remove him from office?
I think the public argument from them would be, oh, it's only 12 days, right? That's a drastic step. By the way, the 25th Amendment can take effect immediately. It's not a long process. And, so I think that's what they'll say. I think the reality is they're only 12 days away. And, from escaping not having to ever turn on Donald Trump. Even when we're sitting in our office and a mob is being encouraged to storm the Capitol, a Capitol police officer, as of last night late, was announced to have perished, plus other people, obviously the one lady shot and others. And then we're going to sit here and say, well, let's just get through to the next 12 days. No, let's take a stand. Let's make it clear that that's crazy. Do you really want to be part of a party that after Donald Trump, this is what we continue to do? We're the conspiracy theory party. Is that really, Joe, is that the party you were ever part of? Probably not. But that's what, if we're not careful, that's what we'll become.
Yeah, well, that's
right there.
Actually,
that's what it is.
Unfortunately, it's what our party has become. And let's hope that others will follow your lead and pull back from this madness that has been building for some time. Congressman, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it.
Congressman
we appreciate
Adam Kinzinger.
your leadership and your service to this country.